Welcome to the Iferia TechCast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today we are joined by Tracy Brinkmann, a former military veteran and corporate marketing leader who now guides entrepreneurs as the dark horse. After overcoming profound personal adversity, he built a digital platform with over 300,000 monthly podcast downloads. He specializes in creating AI-powered systems that help busy parents and business owners automate their income, demonstrating how to transform personal challenges into a foundation for professional success. In this episode, we'll explore his systematic approach to leveraging AI and automation for building resilient businesses and personal freedom. So, Tracy, welcome to the show, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me aboard.
All right, let's dive in. Your story is one of incredible resilience, from addiction, loss, and bankruptcy to building a massive platform. Now, what was the pivotal mindset shift or the first systematic step you took to start translating that personal pain into professional purpose?
You know, I wish it was as easy as saying it was one single moment. I believe it was probably the stacking of moments, one on top of the other. If I go back to the addiction days, when the police kicked open the door to my home, and I was walking away from the police station later on, it was my father's voice in my head. My father was a 23-year veteran, and he was always family first. So I heard that in my ear as I was walking home, family first, family first. And I had a 3-month-old baby at that time. So I tell my daughter, she's 35 now, and she has my granddaughter who just turned 14. So I tell her she saved my life. So that was one pivotal moment in my life that started down a better path. And then when my second daughter passed away at 18 months old, having the blessing and the curse of literally disconnecting her from the machines and rocking her to sleep in the rocking chair in her room in the hospital was a second stacking of pivotal moments, right? I said goodbye to her, obviously, but then I thanked her for all the amazing things that she taught me in her short life with us, and made some promises to her. So that was the next pivotal moment that started me, okay, I'm going this way. I'm not going back into addiction. I'm going forward to make that young lady proud of me as she looked down from the angel that I know she is today. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but unfortunately, I think all of our stories hinge on multiple moments. And I would love to say it was that one moment, but certainly I think the big shifting moment for me became when I decided to stand up for myself in a 20-year marriage that was wrought with abuse. And I decided no more of this and got divorced, and that resulted in the bankruptcy and the ugly divorce and the whole thing. And it was at that moment when I looked around and thought, okay, now I get to be what I know I can be inside. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure does, Tracy. So you talk about the dark horse entrepreneur. For the engineers and systematic thinkers in our audience, how do you define that archetype? And what is the unique advantage they have in today's business world?
For me, the dark horse entrepreneur is another version of the underdog. But I look at them as the person that they have the confidence in themselves. Most underdogs don't. They have the confidence in themselves, but no one else expects them to win. Heck, most of them don't even expect these ladies and gentlemen that are the dark horses to even show up at the racetrack to run the race. And even though they may not win the race, they get out there and the phrase we used to say for my daughter when she was in cheer was they leave it all on the mat and they do everything that they're capable of, maybe even a little bit more. They milk a little bit out of themselves to do a little extra. And everyone goes, holy cow, that was amazing. I never expected that. That, my friends, is a dark horse. No one expects you to come out of the gate running like that. And that usually proves to be your superpower because while everyone else is out there riding the wave of trends or keeping up with the Joneses, my dark horses are focusing on how to get shit done in whatever realm that is for them, whether it's their family, their relationship, their business, their AI business, whatever it is for them. They're focused on getting that stuff done and getting it done the best they can.
All right. That was a fantastic response. Your 15 minutes escape plan is a compelling idea for busy parents. Can you walk us through the architecture of one of these microsystems? So, what does a simple AI automated income stream actually look like in practice?
It depends on how you're executing it. I use the 15 minutes because most of my busy parents that are out there, they don't have 4 hours of continuous time that they can allocate to a side hustle or even, a main, to turn it into a main hustle. Their schedules are already chock full of changing diapers and making meals and doing school runs and going to the grocery store and cleaning that, all the things that populate a parent's life. So usually they only have maybe 30, 45 minutes. So I try to ratchet it back and I try to give them steps that they can get done in that 15 to 30-minute time window. And quite often what happens is they sit down to spend 15 minutes on it as promised, and they find a way to, milk out 30 minutes or 45 minutes or maybe 55 minutes, whatever it is, and they get even more done. To go immediately and answer your question, one of the great benefits of AI is the interconnectivity of it. So it's not just, chat GPT. I mean, there are things like N8 to N where I can connect my chat GPT to my social media, to something like of a Sora or other tools to create images and to create videos. So while the mom is there making breakfast for the kids and getting things organized for the day, she can spend that 15 minutes brainstorming with or without AI, a couple of social media posts, or maybe a newsletter article that she wants to publish out to the audience that she's building, and then feed that content into the AI that has some preset instructions that she spent maybe a previous 15 minutes putting together that tells the system, here's who I am, here's who my audience is, and here's the kind of content we want to deliver. And it acts on those instructions and either creates that social post, that video, that image, or that newsletter, and then puts it into a holding queue where they would approve it either inside that same 15 minutes or perhaps at a future 15-minute block of time that they're using. They would approve that and it would go out. So that's the quick and dirty answer. And as they build that audience of listeners, readers, watchers, whatever it is, they can then start monetizing that through any number of ways.
All right, all right. So you've helped businesses generate a month's revenue in a week by reactivating old email lists with AI. What's the core principle behind that system? Is it about personalized messaging, timing, or a specific AI tool that makes it work so effectively?
Well, one of the core principles behind that is so many small business owners. I focus on the small business owners. I've been finding that so many of them are so focused on getting the next new client that they have forgotten to mine the gold mines that they've already tapped into. So, for instance, if you talk about someone who does detailing for cars, okay, they go out there and they clean up your car, or you bring your car to them and they detail it very nicely. One of the things he also adds on top of that is this ceramic coating that will go on top of your car as well, which, avoids for the chipping and just makes it look beautiful much longer. So going into them, they have a form on their website where they would be collecting email addresses for those that were looking for information from them. And some of those obviously converted into customers. Well, he kept looking for and spending ads on finding new customers rather than remembering to reach back out to those customers whom he already serviced. And because he's a good business owner, he's already earned their trust, they've opened up their wallet and paid him at least once. So sending out an email, a well-crafted, and it's not just an email, right? It's an email campaign, maybe a series of 5 emails over a course of a week to get them reinterested in the services he provides that they have already paid for once and have come away with quite happy about. And so reactivating them, all of a sudden, he's like blowing up and doing a month's worth of revenue in a week. Actually, we had to stop doing the email campaign because he was so booked up. He was like booked out for like 3 months. So we had to, pull back while he, caught up a little bit and then gained more resources to take on the additional business. So a lot of the small businesses out there haven't quite grasped onto that. It seems like such a simple thing for a lot of folks that are probably going, well, duh, of course you want to do that. And there's a lot of folks out there that they're so wrapped up in, ad spend and finding the next new client, they forget how to tap into current clients. And sometimes they just can't, because they're not used to it. They can't even think of a way to promote it that doesn't, cut too deep into their bottom line.
All right, all right. That was a very insightful response. So, for the technical professionals listening who are great at building systems but may struggle with the storytelling part of things, so how can they start to leverage their own experiences and expertise to build a genuine connection with an audience?
Learn storytelling. And I say it like it's so simple, and it is, but it's not, right? It's a skill. It's like anything else. It's like, going to the gym. The first couple of times you go, your muscles start to hurt because you haven't used that muscle in that way before. Storytelling is the same way. I mean, you sit down and figure out some of the things you're trying to share with whomever your audience is going to be. So it could be a prospective client. It could be a business who you're trying to get hired on full time, which could be, it's another way of looking at a prospective client. And you sit down and say, okay, what situations have I been in that I want to make sure to share with them? And then you write those down, and then you start to build a story for them. So when they, like, say if you're sitting at an interview and someone says, well, how did you do this? And you're like, oh, I did that and I did that and I did that. Okay, well, you could tell them like that, or you could tell them, well, here's what was going on. I was sitting down there and I was looking at this issue, and this issue has, as you probably well are aware of, it's not just an issue of customer service, because customer service bleeds over into purchasing and purchasing bleeds over into operations. So really, this one issue didn't just touch customer service. It touched 4 or 5 branches of the business at the same time. So now you're kind of setting the tone, right? And you have disappeared again. And I'm going to keep telling this answer so you can cut it up. So now you're setting the tone. Now you come up with that, and that's how I got my idea. And then you share what that idea was. And then you maybe even share the logic steps or the emotional steps, or a combination of both, which is even better, that you had to go through to get to that answer. And then you start taking it, which led me to starting this. And then you go into the solid action steps that you took, right? The actual, I think probably what some folks would say, the actual meat of the question that they're trying to get, or the actual meat of the answer of the question that they asked you. So you build that foundation with a bit of emotion, right? A little storytelling. And then you expand on it a little bit. This is how I got that. It's that epiphany moment. It's like a movie, right? They kind of lay it all out for you. Then there's that epiphany moment. And then you start getting to the brass tacks about halfway through the movie. Hopefully that answers your question.
Smooth. So, Tracy, what's a common misconception about using AI in business that you find yourself constantly having to correct, especially with fellow entrepreneurs?
That it pulls the human aspect out of the process. And it can, don't get me wrong, it can if you let it. And I think one of the big things is people go into AI with the opinion that they're going to sit down at the keyboard, ask, or if they set it in voice mode, right? Ask it a question and then just take the answer. Well, here's what I like to tell them is like, if you're sitting across from someone that you know and trust and you know they're a wealth of knowledge and you ask them a single question and they gave you an answer and you're like, I don't quite believe that answer. Are you just going to accept it? Or are you going to follow up with additional questions and additional bits of information to pull more out of them? And of course, most folks, especially the entrepreneurs, are going to say, well, of course, I'm going to ask the next question. So why wouldn't you do that with AI, which is what you're supposed to do? And then, of course, you need to give it context so it knows why it's answering the question. You just don't sit down and say, hey, what's a good side hustle? Because it's going to give you, all the stupid answers. But when you say, hey, here's what I want you to do. I want you to sit down and ask me however many questions, 10 questions to get to know me and my experience and my passions so that I could start a side hustle. Now you've put it together in 2 points. One, I want you to get to know me. And two, I want to start a side hustle. So ask me questions that help you know both of those things. Because if you just do one side or the other side, it's going to ask a different set of questions and give you a different set of answers. And then go through it. It's a tool at the end of the day. And I think people want it to be the great answer. Well, it is a great answer, but it's a tool. And if you don't know how to use a tool, it's like a hammer. If you hammer something wrong, you're going to end up with a bandage on your thumb. Same thing.
So, for someone for someone who feels stuck in a 9 to 5 and is overwhelmed by the idea of starting, what is one single 15-minute task you would tell them to do today to take their first step towards building their escape plan?
Well, I'm going to tell them 2 steps. One, go to my podcast and go listen to a few episodes. Pick any of the recent episodes at random, and I try to keep those in the 15 to 30 minute realm as well. So it all wraps together. But to answer your question more directly, I would do just kind of like I just asked, is sit down with Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, just pick an AI. Who cares which one you pick? And sit down and tell it, hey, like I said, just ask me a series of questions, 10, 15, 20 questions to learn about me and my passions because I want to start a side hustle. And, and you could add into it, I want to start a side hustle that I can only need to work on, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 hours a week. And, over time could earn me X number of dollars per month. Okay. And then start answering the questions. And it will ask you some questions you're probably not ready for. But answer it honestly. And if you don't know, say you don't know. And then as it gives you the answers afterwards, dig in a little deeper. Here's a great example. So I use AI to help me publish a newsletter. And one of the things that in the prompt that it does early on, and I tell it to go out and search the web for something that's trending right now and come back with 3 to 5 ideas that would fit with my audience, who it already knows, right? And that is relevant to those topics. It's not copying those topics, but it's looking at and saying, Well, this is relevant right now. People are paying attention to it and they're talking about it online. So let's try this. And it'll give me 3 or 5 ideas. And sometimes I'll look at a couple of them and say, let's combine that, idea number 2 and idea number 5 together. And then it comes up with a whole new angle on it, but there's still 2 trending events. And I'm not just jumping and say, oh, let's do number 2 because, right, sometimes number 2 is just boring. But if you look at it and say, hey, let's do this one and this one, you'll start coming up with ideas yourself that you wouldn't have thought of because it had the ability to go out real fast and pull back and give you 3 or 5 answers. Where if you'd have spent time searching the web, it would have been 2 hours later and you probably would have said, oh, I'm just going to do number 2 because I'm tired of this. Where I'm able to, if you use a tool like AI correctly and creatively, you can start getting this information fast and allows you to tap into your creative juices and let it flow as it should.
Okay, so looking at the next wave of AI tools, so what's one emerging technology that you are most excited about that you believe will be a game changer for small businesses and solo entrepreneurs in the future?
That's a tough one. I'm really excited for some of the video tools that I'm seeing that are in their beta zone right now. They're in beta testing. But I think there is going to be something on the horizon where we're going to be mixing physical, what do you want to call them, apparatuses to integrated AI. So let me go on an example. Mr. Zuckerberg not too long ago announced the Meta glasses, right? And then if you paid attention to it, he was doing a lot of tapping with his fingers, and I believe it was a bracelet that he had on that was reading the muscle signals or whatever it was reading on his wrist, and he was using that to navigate. It was like a UI through his hand. I think tools like that are really going to take us to the next level because, yeah, the glasses are cool and all, but what I thought was really fascinating was this. He was sitting there doing all this controlling while he was standing there in front of a live audience. He was able to interact while still keeping his hands free. Things like that, I think, are going to be the real game changer when it comes to interacting with systems. So why do I even care about this, Tracy? Well, imagine this, my friend. Let's say you're an appliance salesman or you sell appliances, you have a brick and mortar, or maybe you just have a warehouse, and someone is using their little hand AI and whatever glasses, maybe it's just on their screen, and they're reaching out and they're going through the actual motion of opening the refrigerator, and the refrigerator opens, and now they can slide the drawers and they can do all these things on the AI on the screen with the potential device they want to buy and have delivered to their home. They can touch it and feel it and, see the buttons and do all the WYSIWYG stuff all via again, either on their screen with this device, or if they have glasses, that could even step into an augmented reality scenario where I could see it projecting that on their glasses, and then right they're interacting it like, well, it's fit in this space, and they stand in the space and you can see, oh yeah, it will fit there. And then they open the refrigerator and see how far out it swings into their kitchen. Things like that, I think I'm really excited about.
All right, all right. So finally, for our listeners, especially the parents and aspiring entrepreneurs who are ready to start building their own roadmap. So, what is the best place for them to, get your AI Escape Plan newsletter and find your podcasts to listen to, or maybe just generally contact you to
Sure.
begin that journey?
Sure. They can go to darkhorseinsider.com. That will take them straight over to the newsletter where they can sign up, or they can just look at it online. They don't have to sign up for it. It's all available for free. And if they want to check out the podcast, they can go to the Dark Horse, not the darkhorseentrepreneur.com, and everything will be right there. And then of course all the socials across the top, so you can connect with me on the platform, listen to the podcast, watch some of the videos because we're on YouTube as well, and check us out there.
All right, Tracy, it's been a really great time chatting with you. Really fantastic and insightful conversation. And I am really excited to have you on the show today.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.